Hello. I wanted to make a video, once again, to reiterate many of the same points that I've made before. But I know that each time I make a video on such topics as these, the subject matter and points become even more vividly understood by myself, and would also be more vividly understood by someone who watched the video and listened. So it provides me a service, and it also provides someone else who would watch the video or listen to me a service. So I will carry on. Nothing works nowadays. And the reason nothing works is not because there's something... it's not a natural lack. It's not like, oh well, that can't really be helped. The reason that nothing works is liberalism and things associated with it. Now, I know a lot of people who would call themselves liberals, right? But what they really are people who most commonly have been wronged at some time in their life and don't want to see other people hurt. That's what a liberal is, to my mind. I mean, maybe it's not as simple as that, but that's the root of people's interest in liberalism. Because they are good-hearted. The problem is that liberalism liberalism states to them, it's the order that's the problem. It's the systems that are the problem. You've got to break them down. And they go, really? Wow, maybe you're right. Well, I better get on board then. Yes, look at all these other people carrying flowers. The peacemakers, yeah? Those people, yeah, go with them. Okay, yeah, they seem nice, yes. And then all these other people who have a similar mindset, which is they don't want other people hurt, get corralled into this portion of humanity, and then they are used as a weapon against the systems of their own nations. You could call them the disaffected populace, but a lot of them aren't really disaffected. They've just been hurt at some point in their lives. It could have been anyone. It could have been another child growing up. It could have been their own parents. It could have been a stranger. Who knows? So at some point in their life, they have seen injustice, or they have seen someone, maybe themselves or someone else, suffer. And it's made them think, I don't want that to happen to anyone else. And you know what? I agree with that. That's a worthy starting point. The problem is, these people are very vulnerable to being offered a poisoned solution to their problem. So it wouldn't be an issue if there wasn't a particular agenda afoot in the world to destroy nations, to try to bring them under a one world system. And one of the tools which is used is liberalism. Finding these people who are good-hearted and good-natured, convincing them that their own country is the problem, the establishment, the norms, the customs, anything which is traditional, wink wink, which is actually their own precious ethnic and cultural history, that which makes them and their family who they are, is to blame. Convincing them that they are to blame themselves telling them to hate themselves, to regret and be sad about things that their people are apparently responsible for doing to the world that are so awful and heinous, and then committing them to doing whatever they can to thwarting the continuance of what they have been conditioned to believe is some dreadful oppressive orderliness. But what they're taught is a complete and utter lie. And if you spend a bit of time with these people, they're essentially decent people. They're not unintelligent, but they're not applying their intelligence rationally. They have found something to latch onto which is comforting, and they've just stayed attached to it. And all you have to do to wake them up is ask them some questions. You hear them out. Listen to what they speak when you ask them about their views and opinions. Let them talk themselves out, and then ask them some questions which are unanswerable without facing the truth of reality. And if you do it in a gentle way, eventually they wake up and they say, oh yeah, I get it. You don't have to humiliate them. So liberalism is something that people can be recovered from. In essence, everyone wants a world of peace and harmony and blah blah blah. It's just not reality. So these people are essentially operating with a false reality. And it's damaging to themselves, and they don't even see it. But you can eventually get them to see it. Now, I start off by saying nothing works in the world, and liberalism's the reason. Well, liberalism relies upon some foundational or founding principles, including everyone has to be happy and treated with utmost dignity and respect at all times. Which means that in a business, if someone has made a stupid, brainless, mindless, ignorant, damaging decision, oh well, we mustn't say so. We might hurt their feelings. So they keep on and on making such decisions. Now, you have two outcomes to this. One, the business suffers because no one says anything, or, in some ways, a political use of that person is made. So, for example, it's not a good idea for a software company like Microsoft to encourage its developers, I don't like using that word, but we'll use it for now, developers, or maybe rather programmers, to make decisions which produce a product which makes the end user feel powerless, controlled, invaded, and overruled. That's a bad business decision. Unless you have a monopoly, which is what Microsoft ultimately pretty much have. So, you might argue, well, they've just made the business decision that they don't care, they're not going to stop these guys. Okay, maybe. But then from a bigger picture perspective, it serves globalism, which I firmly believe Microsoft is part of, to allow these people to carry on producing horrendous decision making with regard to their programming, which does cause the user to feel powerless, overruled, invaded, etc., etc., in the software that they're using, so as to generally try to badly affect the morale, the individual, the independent feeling of strength and independence that a person has worldwide. because look at the reach that Microsoft have with their software. The problem is that in the third world, for example, if someone has access to a computer, they don't know anything different, so they think, oh, this is the way the world is, and they go along and they become inculcated into this subservient nightmare, whereas the people from the first world who know better are thinking this is a disaster, and the people from the first world who don't know any better, who don't think for themselves, just go, oh well, I'll carry on and go along with it, and the situation gets worse. So this is a bit of a... I've got to be more specific with this topic later, but this is kind of an essay. I need perhaps longer to talk about it. But the point is that nothing works because you can't tell someone you're an idiot. Stop what you're doing. Because it might hurt their feelings. Or because you can't, because those who are causing, who are watching this happen, won't stop it happening because they have a vested interest in observing the idiocy have a negative impact worldwide. So there's stupidity on one side and malevolence on the other. I think it's very easy to get people to agree that both of those things are problems. The opposition to these things is clearly application of intelligence, which is the opposite of stupidity, and I want to say benevolence, but okay, let's call it benevolence. Action with good intent, genuine good intent, but it has to be backed up with strength. Strength of mind, strength of character, and power. Now, people have been conditioned to believe that, oh, all power is wrong, so that they all become weak. They become self-effacing, self-weakening blobs that are controllable. Whereas, that's not what people are. I mean, look at what's been done to mankind. And I say mankind, and I'm talking about men. Men have been convinced and conditioned to behave weakly. So, anyway, nothing works because people aren't told when they're doing things wrong. And the reason they're not told is liberalism. The idea that, no, you can't hurt anyone's feelings. Everyone must be treated like a little flower. And that's craziness. It's absolute craziness. So what is the solution? Well, the solution ultimately is going to have to be a highly vocal, massive overhaul of our society. Because everyone can see this rotten mess. And even the liberals themselves can see the rotten mess, but they are continually told by their nasty masters, who they don't even know are their nasty masters, that the problem is their own society. No, it's your own society. Keep destroying it. Keep attacking it. Keep rebelling against it. When the truth is, their own society is being destroyed, using them, and then they're told that society is the problem. It's a big self-perpetuating rot. So what we really need is a complete overhaul, which is able to firmly speak more loudly and more clearly about what the truth is to these very same people, and help them to understand how badly they've been misled, and to gently encourage them back to sanity and reality, because the party's over. Look at the state. I mean, the United Kingdom's just an appalling mess really now compared to what it used to be. It really is really in a bad way. And I know that I wouldn't be saying this if it wasn't. Yes, I know this is a bit of a broad video, but my ideas are coalescing more and more into a more cogent format. I'll try harder next time.